Who's unmuted right now with that it's like a text sound over and over?
Let me check.
No, there's right.
That's me there right now.
Okay.
All right. To our other council members, if we could go ahead and come back, please.
This full minute.
Hey, Sage.
Yes.
I'd like to reset the clock for Saga since
Please.
she was having audio.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay. When Saga's connected again, and when Councilor Knight is ready to go. Councilor Knight, are you ready? Great, thank you. Okay, Saga, if you're with us.
Can you hear me?
I can. Your minute starts now.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. I would like to just make this as fast as I can. I think we need to take a serious look into what RPD is doing and what they haven't done currently. I agree with mostly everyone that has said that we need to defund the police and put that money into allocations in regards to some type of education, housing, mental health issues. I think that there needs to be some quarterly or semesterly metric that's put onto RPD in regards to psychological exams, racial bias training, racial bias testing. I think those hours need to match or exceed the allotted time that they have trained for arm trainings. I also think that there needs to be training in regards to LGBT matters, knowing when not to be using dead names in regards to our trans neighbors and that are all within the spectrum, just ensuring that they're not booking them by their dead name when that's not what their name is.
Thank you so much for joining us, Saga.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And next we have Renee Waraneko.
Can you hear me?
We can. Thanks for joining us, Renee. Your minute starts now.
Mayor Anne Marie Baldwin needs to lift the curfew as it is a clear violation of the First Amendment right to protest and was put in place to silence the Black Lives Matter movement. The Proud Boys and white supremacists that show up to the peaceful protest brought semi-automatic weapons, yet were not arrested, despite the police making it very clear that wasn't allowed. Second, if RPD cannot handle getting a plastic bottle thrown at them without committing the war crime that is tear gassing its citizens, there needs to be a complete reform of the department. They have shown us that they are disgustingly animalistic and have no regard for the laws and amendments that this country was built on, and obviously neither does the mayor. Chief Deck Brown needs to go. I see you in this chat, and this isn't a demand, it's what's necessary to move in the right direction. Lastly, my sister wants you, Mary Ann Baldwin, to know that you should be ashamed of yourself. And my mom wants you to know that you need to apologize to your citizens that have been afflicted by this. You spend $111 million on absolutely nothing. It's embarrassing. I yield my time.
Thank you for joining us, Renee. Next, we have with us Mr. Carl Dahl.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening, Carl. Your minute starts now.
Hey, I can't believe that the mayor has let the city that we live in be destroyed on Sunday night. It seemed obvious that the RPD could not control the crowd, but no curfew was called for. Then on Monday, when you did, I received no notice. I had to ask a neighbor if they knew anything about it, and they said they had just received the email. It was 6:19 p.m. I just don't understand how in the world a city is supposed to function with such terrible communication. Also, cannot believe that the police department would shoot at people trying to protect their own property for the crime of giving away water. That's just criminal. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, Carl. Next, we have Bob Gary.
Sage, hello.
Hi, Bob. Your minute starts now.
I just want to say very quickly, institutional racism is in the DNA of this country's history. I want to say Black Lives Matter. I want to say that we need to hear Black voices in Raleigh. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Next, we have Rolanda Bird.
Hi.
Hi, Rolanda. Your minute starts now.
Okay. The current state of the city of Raleigh is not only because of the death of George Floyd, but because of how many times we've seen the same or similar thing happen right here in our own city. Many of you have watched community leaders come before you for the last 4 years and have chosen to be silent in inaction or take inaction or weak action. Time's up. I am here, hopefully, to bear witness to you taking action to do what you should have done when Akil Dinkins' blood was spilled in 2016, and every day thereafter. We brought it back to man that Mary Ann Baldwin must make a choice, continue to line her pockets or do her work with us. We demand that she resign from her role with Barn Hill Construction, a developer that incentivizes putting property before our lives, before Black lives. To make that possible and for the health of our local democracy long term, we demand an increase of the salaries of city council.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Your minute's up. Before I move on to the next person, just to address the city clerk's comment earlier, for those that are able, if you could please send your statement to the city clerk. Madam Clerk, could you let people know what your email is, please?
Yes, Gail, Gail .smith@RaleighNC.gov.
Thank
They
you.
will send them. I will put them in a packet and forward them to all council members so you can get the benefit of the full statements.
And that will go into the public record so that all speakers are aware. But if you have trouble finding Gail's email, you can also send it to your council member and let us know, and we will forward it to Gail as well. But we want to make sure this goes into the public record for this evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next speaker is Lee Branscomer.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Your minute starts now, Lee.
Hi, my name is Lee. I'm a renter in downtown Raleigh, and I've been a resident since 2016. I'm a liberal Democratic voter. I support police reform. I support the protests, and I agree with many of the recommendations regarding oversight and reform that have been mentioned. I do believe the destruction was absolutely escalated by the police, and I also understand the underlying issues with those frustrations, and I still don't condone the destruction. Property is not even close to the value of a human life, but it does have some value. I don't think it's particularly challenging to hold both views, nor do I believe that it's morally bankrupt to do so. Sage, I voted for you and I still support you. But I was disappointed to hear you attack Councilman Buffkin for his immutable characteristics. And even though I don't necessarily agree with his line of thinking, I also want you to know that if the shoe was on the other foot and anyone attacked you for your immutable characteristics, I would stick up for you just the same. If you hear anything...
Thank you so much for joining us. Your minute's up. Next, we have Jonathan Pearson.
Good evening.
Thanks. Your minute starts now, Jonathan.
All right, thanks for hearing us out. I just wanted to hop on here and voice my support for the police department. And, you know, I know that a lot of people are upset about the events of this past weekend, and that was, you know, it's definitely troubling. But ultimately, I think what it comes down to is we just need to make sure that we're doing all that we can to make sure that both our police and our citizenry receive the proper support that they need. I do think that some oversight, some kind of third-party auditing process would be good to make sure that the beat cops are not performing their duty properly. And I do think that regular psychological evaluation could be useful, and it would be healthy for the police officers as well. I cede the rest of my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Alex Krasnov. Alex, are you with us? Alex, are you there?
We can go on to Lee.
Okay. Instead of Alex, we'll move on to Lee Dockert.
Oh.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lee Doshert, and I'm a resident of Raleigh. I just wanted to express my concern with the oversight of the Raleigh Police Department. I support them. I understand there are good officers, men and women who are serving the community. However, I do want to support Chief Deck Brown and just the oversight, and in addition to the policies and implementations that are already in place that restrict oversight at this point. So just looking at the different systems and rules and policies that are in place, I would encourage the council to do that. Thank you. I yield the remainder of my time.
Thanks so much for joining us, Lee.
Give us a second. The last
Please.
names have not been there.
Of course, take your time.
Alexander Cahill.
Great. Alexander, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can. Your minute starts now, Alexander.
All right, I just want to say as a white cisgender male that lives in Old East Raleigh that I love my black neighbors, I love my black friends, and I love the black staff that works at the city of Raleigh day in and day out for all of our livelihoods. I would strongly advocate for the defunding of the Raleigh Police Department. $111 million can be better spent on stipending community members, specifically community partners, black-owned businesses. It could also be used to restrict and remove zoning efforts in the city and make zoning more inclusive for all. That is all I have to say. Thank you so much.
They have it.
Thank you so much. I was working on the statement for the public record, and it came to my realization that everyone used their email to sign up for this, and so it is possible for us to send out an email tonight or tomorrow or in the coming days to remind folks to submit their statement to the clerk. So you'll be hearing from us as well in the coming days if you forget. So fret not. Next, we'll hear from Christine Sizemore.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Your minute starts now.
Thank you for taking my question and comment. There seem to be no rules of engagement, and I found the tactics and tools used against fellow citizens abhorrent. And in my opinion, the police provoked far more violence than they prevented. It's a police force and not a military. So my question is, does Raleigh plan to review their use of force policies for the law enforcement? Thank you, and I yield my time.
Thank you, Christine.
We have Jose Gonzalez.
Thank you. Jose, thanks for joining us tonight. Are you with us?
Hi, yes, I'm Jose Gonzalez. I'm a resident of Raleigh. Black Lives Matter. I would like to reiterate a few things here. We demand the removal of Chief Ted Brown. We demand subpoena power to proposed oversight boards to strengthen their ability to effectively review and investigate grievances through an RPD policy change. We propose that no new police stations are built in heavily black areas, and that the multiple stations close to each other in heavily black neighborhoods are transferred, reducing the overpolicing of black Raleigh communities. We also demand a policy requiring officers to intervene when a fellow cop becomes overly abusive to a detainee, and we demand an investment in community-led health and safety communities instead of increasing investment in police. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Next, we have Gio Storelli.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Your minute starts now.
Okay, yes. I'm here in solidarity with Raleigh Pact and all the other groups calling for defunding the police. I would also like to call upon the city to investigate white supremacist activity that has been noted around the city. And yeah, I'll be sending the statement in full for the council to read, and I will yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Gio. Next, we have Kristen Hill.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Thanks so much for joining us. Your minute starts now.
Thank you. I'm an organizer, and I am disgusted by the leadership of the city, mostly from Mayor Baldwin. I've attended the protests in Durham, and they've been nothing but peaceful because the police department has been hands-off to let us exercise our First Amendment right. So Mayor Baldwin, you could really learn from Mayor Schewel, especially when it comes to working with the community. If you want to be a real advocate for the Black community in Raleigh, you need to advocate for defunding of the police so you can allocate more funding for better public transportation, more affordable and accessible housing, and making Raleigh greener. Mayor Baldwin, if you do not actually value Black lives, then you do not deserve to be serving them or anyone for that matter. So please resign.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kristen. This is...
Yay!
Yay is right. We're still live. Just FYI. I want to save you from embarrassment. Someone else asked me if the meeting was being recorded, and the answer is yes. So the meeting is being recorded. It's obviously being live broadcast, but it will also be available on YouTube. And Raleigh has its own website in which all of our recordings are housed. And so it normally takes half a day for it to show up there. But for anyone that's wondering whether or not this will be available after, it will be. Next, we have Michael Stewart Isaacs.
Yes, hello. My name is Mike Stewart Isaacs. I'm showing my solidarity with Raleigh Pack. I am just calling just to listen and hear with the city council members. As a resident of Raleigh for many years, I've witnessed the unfortunate treatment of police officers in Black neighborhoods. As a resident previously of Washington Terrace, I witnessed police interactions with residents as always suspicious, as well as highly militarized in regards to the equipment and other things they use towards individuals. also like to state that in regards to choosing police officers, we need to start looking at where police officers come from. If they come from places that have populations that they're not familiar with, and then they're forced to police areas with people they've never had experiences with, namely rural areas, police officers who maybe have previous hunting experience and those kind of things, we may need to use that as a vetting process to get them out of the police force, because that's how they're treating citizens often.
Thank you so much, Michael. Next, we have Matthew Sasso.
Hi, you can hear me?
Yes.
I want to know why the city has murdered, abused, and terrorized citizens, particularly black citizens, for years. I want to know why they think it's okay to poison and abuse those protesting these murders. Why do you think it's okay to send the National Guard to threaten us and to send more of your riot gear wearing terrorists to throw tear gas into crowds that have children in it? Why are the city and state sanctioned terrorists shooting rubber bullets and bringing sound cannons in?